Hello and welcome to this Formlabs webinar. This is a shortened version of the original broadcast. If you'd like to view the content in full, please click on the link below.
Hello and welcome everyone to the panel Proven Uses of Additive Manufacturing by Leading Medical Device Companies. We're going to be exploring the use of Formlabs 3D printing technology at established and successful medical technologies. I have two great panelists today and I'm excited to share them with you. My name is Sam Kesner. I am the head of electronic systems engineering here at Formlabs. I actually came from the medical technology industry, so I think that's why they asked me to help present today. Before at Formlabs, I was a engineering manager and leader at Medtronic, working on their surgical robotics platform. Before that, I was doing medical robotics startups, primarily exoskeletons and implants. And then before that, I was in academia doing surgical robotics. But you want to hear about these great speakers, so allow them to introduce themselves. First, we have Colin from Enovis Surgical.
Hi, everyone. I'm Colin. I'm a product development engineer for R&D Specials and Customs at Enovis Surgical. Kind of got my start in 3D printing in college after picking up a Creality FDM machine and learning and falling in love with it there. So then I ended up going to the medtech space as an R&D engineer, and now I'm over at Enovis Surgical helping out with the managing the printers for both Formlabs stuff and desktop metal.
Thanks, Colin. We also have Nathan from Restore 3D.
Hey everybody, I'm Nathan Evans. I lead product development at Restore 3D. My background in academia was in engineering and advanced biomaterials. I worked at a couple of early stage startups in sports medicine and then in spine. But I've been at Restore 3D now for 4 years, where really we're focused exclusively on 3D printed implants and instruments. I did not know printing at all before I joined, but I've gotten deep in it now, both from a product development standpoint, manufacturing, as well as regulatory as well, but excited to be here today.
Thank you, and we're excited to have you here with us today. The format for today will be a short slide presentation from each speaker about their technology and the use of additive manufacturing, followed by a Q&A to dive a little deeper into those topics. We have Colin up first.
All righty. So again, a little bit about me, product development engineer. I work in R&D, specials and customs. So my department specifically handles one-off instrumentation and custom implants for our implant systems over at Enovis Surgical. So who is Enovis? We're a global provider of high-quality orthopedic devices. We are formerly DJO Surgical. So you might know us by some of our other brand names that we have in that: Ultivate, Empower, Expert. We have a pretty wide range of implant systems for upper extremity, for reverse shoulders, total elbow, picked up some fingers too, and our lower extremities. So we do a lot of titanium implants, cobalt chrome implants, and polyethylene, other parts of those implants. So our additive manufacturing facilities here at Enovis Surgical, we have a space called the Innovation Studio. It's pretty new, still building out some of the parts of it, but in essence, we have a total of 5 Form 3 printers for prototyping, 3 Form 2 printers for our manufacturing group, because we do both the R&D and manufacturing in-house for most of our implants. We use the Form Wash, Form Cure. Our Formlabs machines are primarily ran by our team of 4 or 5 co-ops that rotate through the semesters at local universities, and just general hand tools in there. And we also just picked up a desktop metal shop system for binder jetting 17.4 stainless. So that's really helped us kind of move that transition point from a lot harder to do things, drills, those sort of things that you can't quite get out of plastics, but they're still necessary. So here's a picture of our little suites, again, still in progress. So our SLA suite, hoping to get a couple racks for some printers over there. And then our binder jetting area, which is a lot bigger because it's a lot more machines compared to the Formlabs stuff. So how does additive manufacturing fit into our workflow at Enovis? So really, it's a time and convenience thing. That's a major part of why we choose to do a lot of additive manufacturing. A lot of our design work, you can throw in CAD and SolidWorks, and you can have a part out in a day. So that's a very, very strong use of additive manufacturing for us. It is wonderful to be able to send something that you just talked about on a call with a surgeon to them overnight and have it in their hands. So it's also less load on our machine shop. So for that prototyping phase, we can use those resources elsewhere for more labs that require actual metal implants and metal instruments. So also a shorter wait time on parts, as everyone knows that lead times are really long during COVID. It's definitely helped out quite a bit. A little bit again, I showed those pictures of our footprint. We are totally in the office. So these are right next to us, easy to service. Our SLA suite for our Formlabs printers is about 130 square foot. That includes everything that we use. So the Formlabs, or the Form Wash, Form Cure, all of that. The binder jetting area, obviously a lot bigger, more clunky machinery in that space, but it's still relatively small in our office. The monetary benefits of additive manufacturing are obviously huge. I'm sure anyone who's looked into it has seen that their cost benefit analysis is going to be great for it. Less reliance on outsourcing. You can control your material prices and your labor costs as well. And for example, we use our co-ops and interns as part of this. Their primary role is to support their R&D teams, but they're also supporting us here for the 3D print group. And also less idle time for engineers, because the last thing you want is a bunch of engineers sitting around doing nothing, because then bad things tend to get made. Not always bad ones in a bad sense, but maybe not so much what you want to do. Ease of use. So all of our SLA machines, again, are run by our co-ops and interns. So these parts pretty much get handled from the request to delivery. I manage that at R&D in Enovis Surgical. That's pretty much hands off for me. They handle everything from modeling, doing slicing, post-processing to delivery. And then the binder jetting, my coworker and I work on supporting that. That does take a lot more than the SLA, but some of the end use parts, while not actually end use in surgical applications, but end use for validation labs and things like that, are sometimes better made out of metal. So how do we utilize it? Here are a couple pictures of some things. I'll just run through the bullet points first. Preliminary design ideas. A lot of these, again, you're at night figuring out a design and you want to have it the next day, you can put in a request and it's there for when you're in the office. General prototyping, a lot of this, trying to see how things fit together, is a very, very good use of it. Mechanical testing, that first picture on the left-hand side over here shows one of our mechanical testing rigs. And we use some Formlabs 3D printed parts on that, as you never know what your exact construct that you're going to be testing is. For surgeon approvals, that's more my side of the business. Sometimes we send out SLA models to the surgeons to get a thumbs up that this is exactly what they want if they need a special tweak on it. We also use some of our printed parts for sawbones and cadaver labs. So in the medical device industry, you have to do a lot of testing before everything gets out, which is a wonderful thing. A lot of parts have to be made. So a lot of sawbones, which are essentially foam bone substitutes that you're doing a trial mock procedure on, all the way to cadaver labs where you're working on cadavers and validating. As well as marketing collateral over in this top corner wrong screen, in this top corner over here. We do, from time to time, help support our marketing groups with trinkets to give out at trade shows and whatnot. So again, going through these pictures, test apparatus, this is just one of the applications for some Formlabs resins. A box of our initial prototypes for some of our knee components, mostly instruments here. Some marketing collateral, and a few more, some more of the metal parts. This part originally was made in plastic to make sure everything fits together. And then it was made on the metal 3D printer to make sure that we're not going to waste the time on that if everything doesn't fit off the bat. So then to cadaveric testing and post-processing of other implants, other instruments, not implants. So we also use additive manufacturing in our manufacturing process. So as I mentioned before, across the street from us, we're literally separated by a road. We do our manufacturing. We have done some 3D printed fixturing and work holding for post-processing, inspection tooling, those sort of things. Also doing prototypes of regular fixtures. So we do one that I'm working on currently is an inspection apparatus that is very expensive to prototype and get a lot machined out of metal, but they wanted to do it first out of plastic. So we're helping out with that using some of the SLA machines. Different fixtures when you have a really short lead time and you need something for inspection. And this stuff is all carried out across the street on our Form 2 machines over there. So it's pretty hands-off with this for me, but I have some input on the design side. So that's about what we do at Enovis. A lot more use. I'm sure we'll get to that in the Q&A.
All right, thank you, Colin, again for that presentation. Look forward to talking more about it towards the end. Now we're going to move over to Restore 3D. Nathan, if you don't mind sharing your slides so we can learn more about your work.
Absolutely. Let me go ahead and share here. You able to see it all right?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. Looks great.
Great. So yeah, I'm looking forward to talking a little bit about our business. I'm going to spend maybe the first half of these slides talking about really what we do as far as personalized musculoskeletal surgery as a whole, even on the implant side, which is all metallic for us. But then the second half of the presentation, I'll focus more on what we do on the instrument side, which is really enabled by technologies and partnerships with companies like Formlabs. So, first, let me just highlight kind of our overall process here of, what we do, which is kind of an end-to-end design process, starting from pre-surgical planning with surgeons, then followed by manufacturing, then, of course, the implantation, and then finally collecting post-operative outcomes to then feed back into this iterative design process. And this is kind of our vision of the future, but we're realizing it today. And some of the key things that make this like iterative design process, particularly with patient specific and personalized orthopedics possible, is the additive manufacturing component. And so I'll talk mostly about that. But to give you a little flavor of what this kind of schematic looks like in practice, I want to walk you through a case, which is very typical of what we do at Restore 3D. And that starts with the planning process. And so a typical case for us will look like getting 2D CT images from a surgeon of the patient's affected anatomy. What we will do is then take those scans and segment them and mask them. And so really what we're doing there is turning those two-dimensional images into a three-dimensional image, and masking is separating out all the different bones and anatomy. And so once we get the three-dimensional image, we can then do the proposed realignment, the reconstruction, the proposed resection that the surgeon might be looking to do. And here you can see that big osteochondral defect in the distal tibia there that needs to be corrected. Then we can work with the surgeon to plan the surgical plan, where they might want to make, again, the resections, what patient-specific instruments and implants they'll need. And we do this all in a matter of days or weeks. And so after this process is done, we then will move to manufacturing. And so this can leverages, of course, patient-specific components, but then can also be paired with off-the-shelf components. So then speaking of moving into the manufacturing side, cases like what I just showed you are only possible with advanced technology and 3D printing. And so kind of a couple of things here that really enable this. One is a digital design process for us, including the application of porosity in a step as simple as a single click to be able to apply that lattice, that porosity, which is critical for ingrowth. to our implants. The second is on-site manufacturing of both the implants, instruments, and models. And so you can see on the top there are 3D printed implants, and on the bottom there is actually some of our Formlabs components, which is the ancillary instrumentation. This is things such as trials, impactors, cut guides, etc. And I'll talk more about that in a second. And then third there is the time that is critical. These patients often need to have surgery relatively quickly. The surgeons are looking to schedule that relatively quickly. And this whole process can be, you can go from powder to part in as little as 2 weeks. So kind of returning to that same case, after we design and manufacture the implant, that patient then will send that implant to the hospital. It'll get sterilized, and the surgeon will then perform the procedure for the patient. So this is that case we showed you before, the actual post-operative X-ray there. And so this is a super cool case because then we also received a 6-month post-op video from the surgeon showing the patient actually walking around. And what's really cool about this is a case like this historically would have probably been an amputation. And really this is the patient's alternative here, is an amputation. But with these types of advanced design methodologies and advanced manufacturing capabilities, we're really able to offer a solution for this patient that literally did not previously exist. So I want to just talk a little bit about what 3D printing has done for both implants and instruments. So just quickly on the implant side, one is of course patient specific, and this is really probably what gets a lot of the focus with regards to implants today. The image you see there is an example of a custom or patient specific hemipelvis. But we can do this now in a cost-effective and timely fashion in a way that, again, just wasn't possible before. Another is highly porous implants that are optimized for osseointegration. So again, historically, implants would have been solid with no room for bone ingrowth or on growth, but now you can do these highly complex porous devices. And then last is on-demand production with lower inventory cost. Printing is often thought of for both metals and polymers as a prototyping means, but we're using it for both metals and implants as in-use parts. And you can do so in not only cost-effective, but really actually just overall reduction in cost, and then also move towards more of a truly on-demand manufacturing method.
Thank you for tuning into this webinar preview from Formlabs. To view the content in full, please click on the link below. Alternatively, if you'd like to get more information on our products and services, then please visit our website.